Okay, 4.4, graphing parabolas. So, the very beginning, if you can remember to before 4.1, remember when we had that calculator lab where you graphed? And then you had to do that marble activity on Desmos? Remember that? So this is kind of just a refresher from that, learning how to graph parabolas on the calculator and find the roots, the x-intercepts, the zeros. All of those mean the same thing. Just where does this function intersect the x-axis? So quick review, solve by factoring. So let's look at number 1. How would I factor this? Trial and error. Would it be a positive 3 or a positive 4?
Positive 3.
And then negative 4. So that ends up being a negative 1. So x equals negative 3 and x equals a positive 4. This is where my graph would intersect the x-axis.
So you change the sign?
Yes.
Because you're setting it equal to 0.
Setting it equal to 0.
Zeros?
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense.
Okay, now I want you to graph this in your calculator and just verify that those are the zeros.
Oh.
Wait.
Okay, so here's what it looks like when it is graphed. You did not get it to show up? Just looking at this, I can see that the zeros are at negative 3 and positive 4. Using my calculator, how could I actually verify that? What would I need to hit? Menu,
No.
analyze graph, 0. Then I drag to the left of it, click, drag to the right. Does it do both of them? No, it just does one. So then, negative 3, menu, analyze graph 0, and positive 4.
Can you do both of them at once?
No.
You kind of can if you
Well, yeah, you
if
just
put it in the
you go
middle
left
and
and
you
then
go
you
to
go
the
right.
left and then you go back.
Oh. So if you do it in the middle, go to the left and the right.
Just do that.
So basically when I factored and then when I graphed it, they were both what? The same. So factoring / graphing are the same solutions. So I just verified that when I graph the same equation, I'm going to end up with the same answer as I did by factoring. If I completed the square, would I get the same answer with that equation? Yes. If I did the quadratic formula, would I get the same answer? Yes. So no matter how you solve it, you will always get the same answer because you're using the same equation. So the 4 ways we've learned are factoring, completing the square, quadratic formula. So 1, 2, 3. Today we're learning graphing. All 4 ways will get you the same answer, but sometimes it's better to use one than the other.
If you had access to your calculator, why wouldn't you choose graphing?
That's a perfect question, and you wouldn't. You would always choose graphing.
Okay.
If you had access to your calculator, you're always going to graph. So maybe let's look at, and you could just put this maybe at the bottom of your paper or somewhere. Let's think about, we have our 4 ways. So we have factoring, complete the square, quadratic formula, and then graphing. If I just have an equation and I don't know where to start, when would I use which one? So factoring will work when the equation is factorable, which kind of seems intuitive. But it's not always factorable. So by simply looking at it, maybe trial and error a few times may not work. And sometimes I will tell you, like on the quiz, I said, do this by factoring, do this by completing the square. If it's factorable, maybe you easily see a difference of squares. Maybe you see one that's 3 terms or 4 terms and you can group. Maybe you see one that's 3 terms that you can trial and error. Factoring is my favorite, but it doesn't always work because not every equation is factorable. Completing the square, you would only want to do if it's not, probably if it's not factorable. And if it tells you to, yes. But if your middle term is even, we want it to be even, right? If it's odd, then you get weird fractions, and you just don't want to do that.
So then what should we do?
If it's odd, then you'd probably want to use, and this one always works, like these two will always work, completing the square quadratic formula, no matter what you have.
What is each?
And then if you have your equation, if you have your calculator, you will always use this, always graph. Because why wouldn't you?
That is a great question.
Because there's no calculator section.
Exactly. Because you're not always given a calculator.
But in real life, we'll always have
And
calculators, so-
if the instructions give you, so you're telling me you're going to take your TI Inspire calculator with you everywhere you go for the rest of your life.
Well,
Yes.
there's
Okay.
There's apps, though.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
obviously, do what the instructions tell you to do first. So if they say complete the square, then please use that. But if they say do whatever you want, these are just a few tips and tricks of what you would want to do when.
Can you leave this up here for a second?
Yes. That I just imparted upon you. What would we do on part A? What do we say?
I tried the quadratic formula.
Trial and error.
Let's try trial and error.
Trial and error.
Yeah, it's trial and
Because the
error.
numbers
It's
are pretty
X
simple. I hate trial and
X
error.
minus X amount.
Wrong. It's
Signs are same or different?
Different.
What numbers could we use?
1 and 8.
1 and 8. Where would the 1 go?
the right.
Far. Right side.
Good. I knew what you meant. That work?
Yeah.
So x equals -8 and x equals +1.
Yep.
Good. What about B?
Give me a minute.
I think the
That could get really big.
Okay.
Why would we
same
maybe
thing.
not want to use the quadratic formula here?
Because you get really big.
Yeah, these numbers are huge.
One square.
Yeah.
Do we just do the same thing again?
Let's try trial and error.
Is that what we just did?
Yes.
trial and error. It doesn't have a middle.
5.
That's only with completing the square. Would you want to do middle?
Is it plus and minus still?
Yeah.
Plus or minus?
So you could do like,
What are the two numbers closest together? 3 and 5.
Yes.
and then I think you put. Ooh, this is a French.
5.
5 and 6. So 5 would go with 3. Yeah.
Does that work?
No.
No, no. Whoever thought of that?
Mm,
10 and 3.
10 and 3. Okay, 10 and 3, but where does the 10 have to go?
That's not
Five.
good.
To the left, to the
Nope.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that actually works.
So -9 and +50. Switch the signs. Good.
Oh, wait, I forgot it was negative.
That's what I thought.
So then my solutions would be what?
10 over 3.
Good.
So when you have a negative on the top and a negative on the bottom, like a fraction is positive.
Mhm.
Okay.
Part A, what do we think we could do?
I don't know.
You want to complete the square? So you want to divide by 24?
Don't.
I feel like.
Wait. Complete the square. Wait.
I probably should have added on the factoring column that if you have really big numbers, that's probably going to be a factoring one. Because here, so if I completed the square here, I would have to divide everything by 24. Seems very easy, right? Then you're going to take half of 10 over 24, which would be 5 over 24. Does that seem? And then you got to square that. So
Back out.
Yeah.
Mayday.
Yeah.
We can just
Trial and error.
So, and then if I did the quadratic formula, you got to square 10, which isn't bad.
Wait, isn't this the completing square?
What's the square root of
No, we just tried the completing square. That doesn't help.
Divide by 24.
Fractions.
Trial and error.
Which one?
Wait, I don't think you can do
Trial and error.
Trial and error. Thank you.
Would
Trial
you
and
say
error.
that? I have a
Two
question.
X.
Why are
When
you
in
guys
doubt, trial
trying?
and
It's just
error.
let it happen. It's trial and error.
Yes.
So, when is it, when do you have to divide the first term?
Completing the square.
That's the only time
Mm-hmm.
where it has to be x
Can you do
squared?
completing the square for this one? Oh, never mind. Nope.
When you complete, so we just kind of thought about maybe going into completing the square. With this one, if I did that, I would have to divide everything by 24 first.
No.
Then it's 5 over 24.
Yes, and completing the square is the only one that you have to do that for.
Humidity 62%. Yeah.
Okay, so if I trial and errored this, my signs would be
Well, negative.
Plus.
plus and plus. My numbers, like what are the two that are closest together?
64. Oh, yeah.
And then the only factors of 1 would have to be 1 and 1.
What? No way, man.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
What
does.
about 10? How are you?
Now, because that's how I check it, is 6
Oh.
plus 4. So my answers would be x equals negative 1 6, x equals negative 1 4.
Dang it. Write this down.
Write it down. Okay, what about this one? What could I do here? Using our gift of discernment.
I swear. Trial and error.
You could try trial and error.
No, you can just do 2. Or no, completing the square.
If I gave you a choice between completing the square or quadratic formula, which one would you choose?
Quadratic
Why?
formula, because you could do it in the
Because
calculator.
of the odd.
The odd number.
She doesn't use the calculator.
Without using the calculator.
If she
Okay.
didn't use the calculator, you could enter every single one.
Let's use the quadratic formula.
Serious?
Strings on me.
All right.
The greatest scene from Original Time.
Are we okay with quadratic formula?
Yep.
Yay. Okay.
Good.
Let's move on.
Flips the page.
This is the easiest.
Okay, graphing parabolas in vertex form. There's going to be 2 kinds of forms that we will learn.
This is the easiest unit. I would drop this classroom right now.
So, this is not the easiest unit. Vertex form looks like y equals ax plus or minus h squared plus k. No, you'll just have to be able to identify it. Like if it looks
So we have to
something like this. No, not memorize it.
So matching form on the test. Matching questions.
on the test.
No. Parent function y equals x squared. So,
Should have been answered.
this is a parabola. This is the original, the parent function, meaning everything stems off of this. It either goes up or down, left or right. It could flip. It could be wider. It could be narrower.
If A is positive, oh, this is something I definitely need to know.
So if we can kind of recall from that calculator lab that we did, let's see if we can try to fill these in. If A is positive, the parabola opens up. Good. If it's negative, it opens down. Good.
Alright, the A value.
And then the higher the A value, like remember if your number was increasing, like going from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, it gets narrower.
What I meant to say was narrow.
Did she just take the quiz?
She did. So then we're going to look at the inside of the parentheses, so the things next to the X. That's going to shift it. Does it shift it up, down, or does it shift it left, right? Can y'all remember?
I really can't. Left or right?
Left or right. So if you have an X plus something, it's always going to be the opposite sign. So if I had X plus 4, then it would go left 4 units. So you go left H units. And then if it's X minus something, it's going to go to the right. So always take the opposite sign. Then plus or minus K, you're going to keep that sign. And this is what shifts it up or down. So if it's plus K, then it's going to go up K units. And if it's minus K, then it's going to go down. K units. Our starting point is always at 0, 0. So that's where we start.
Okay, when it has the plus or minus h and the plus or minus k,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean that when we're graphing, we're going to get 1 plus h and 1 minus h, right?
No, 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 no.
Okay.
It just means one or the other.
Yeah.
There will always just be one of those signs. All right, so let's look at a few.
Kylie actually came in at a good time because we just reviewed.
Okay, so with A, y equals x squared. Just the parent function. So I start at 0, 0.
Oh, we have to graph this?
Yes.
Oh, dude. What?
How did you know it goes like that, though?
So there is an imaginary 1 in front of here.
What?
So starting at 0, 0, it means I go up 1 over 1. Then it starts to just curve upwards. And it gets steeper as it goes along. But 1 unit away, left or right, it's just going to go up 1 over 1. So with B,
So
it's going to be more narrow. It's still going to be facing upward.
But it's,
So I start at 0, 0, up 2 over 1.
oh.
I see something.
What do y'all think would happen with C?
Wait, give me a second. It's gonna go down and be narrow.
Okay,
Please tell me I'm right.
you are right.
Yeah.
Down 2 over 1.
Okay, this is easy.
No, don't say that.
Don't jinx it.
I'm not.
Yeah, flip the page.
Okay, next page. So these are numbers in front that are bigger than 1. What do you notice about E and F? Those numbers in front are smaller than 1. They're fractions.
Oh, is there wider?
So that means that it's wider. This does not mean that you go up 1 over 2, okay? It means you go up 1/2 over 1, okay? You're always going to the right or left 1 unit,
Always.
but you just go up or down the value that's in front of the x squared.
You'll always go to the right.
Mhm. So you're always going to have a dot left and right 1 unit away. But depending on how far you go up or down, depends on the number in front of your a value, or in front of your x squared. So doesn't that make this wider?
Yeah.
Because when we had 2x, and I'll just use a different color to show you. When we had 2x squared, it was here. But we still went left or right 1 unit away. So for F, what do you think that I would do? Go down 3/4 over 1.
So, Ms. Thornhill, what variable is prescribed to the 1/2 and the 3/4?
The A.
That's the A.
Mhm.
Okay. Right now, there's no H value for B.
No, not yet. We haven't introduced that just yet.
Or
So we went down 3/4 over 1.
Oh, God.
Here we went up 1/2
It's getting hard.
over 1. You don't have to write that down, just to mentally think, what did I do?
Person needs to upgrade their chairs.
Okay, so when you say up half,
No, like the church. Like in the church.
Yes.
Cause like
when you say up 1,
churches like
Tommy, stop.
I don't understand when you say the over 1.
Just like right and left 1.
You can't say up 1/2, left 1.
It's not
then
like
you
this
have
is
to go to
over
both
something. It's like
sides.
you go down 3/4 and then over 1.
That's
Like
what it's
over-
On each side.
You
Yeah.
move
So
over.
are you wanting us to stay on the? I think that's the x-axis.
okay, could it be like
Yeah.
not as like through
So you want us to
over
stay on that
one?
and just keep going over? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now let's introduce some left or rights.
What do you mean left or right?
Some left or rights. So would this x plus 2 mean that I go right or left 2?
Left.
So I start at 0, 0, I go left 2, and I put a dot there. The A value is technically 1 because there's nothing in front of here, and it's going to be facing upward.
Oh my gosh.
My head hurts.
Can't wait for summer.
Okay, what would I do with H?
Set up more attainment.
Right 1.
And Thanksgiving.
So right 1, does it face up or down? Up. Up, because this is positive.
But wouldn't you?
So I'm going to go up 2 over 1.
You wouldn't distribute that?
No, no, no. Leave it. Leave it be.
I'm sure we will at some point.
Okay, try I by yourself.
So, does it always matter that it hits that point, like, on the up 2 over 1?
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, my lines won't be exact.
That's fine.
By the way, everyone in the fall play, congrats, did a spectacular job.
How many plays does Preston do?
Yeah, so you two and Grant, everyone.
And Mary was on crew, so.
Yeah.
I have not seen a single play. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, I just got a good question. The question was, do I have to keep going after I have those 3 dots? No, I will be grading the 3 dots.
Grade the 3 dots.
Grade the 3 dots.
We don't have to put the line. Like, the line's
You
not
have to
perfect.
actually draw the
Like,
picture.
It's not perfect.
If it's not perfect, that's okay. I'm going to be grading 3 dots, but I want it to look like the parabola that
So
you
I only have
see.
to put 3 dots.
No.
Negative.
All right, let's look at the
Alright,
next.
I can do. No, I can't. Wait, is that just the Y value?
Okay, here we have, what transformations do you see for G?
Up.
Okay, we're going up 1.
So we're going right 2, up 1. So I start at 0, 0, right 2, up 1. And the A value is just 1,
You go down.
and it's facing upward because this is a positive
That makes
Where?
sense.
in front.
Understood 1.
Oh.
So how I know if it faces up or down is the number that's in front of the parentheses. If it's a negative, it faces down. If it's a positive, it faces up.
And if there's no
And then
number,
you
it's
look
an
at
understood one.
Exactly.
Then you look at the parentheses for if it's a negative or positive.
Mm-hmm. All right. So H.
So, it's a good way to say the number in parentheses is the X.
One.
And
Yes.
the number on the right of it.
Is the Y. Mm-hmm. Down 2. What does the one in parentheses tell me?
Left. I mean, left 1.
Uh-huh. Left 1. Down 2. Does it face up or down?
Down.
It faces up.
Up. How
That's
come?
a
Because it's positive.
Positive. So I go up how many? 1/3.
Oh, that's pretty wide.
That's
Yes,
pretty
yes,
wide.
Who thought of this? That's my question.
Whoever thought about this is like.
Like, I've always wondered, like, how did people come up with this kind of stuff?
Statistically, 4 out of 3 people have trouble with fractions.
Oh, I get it, because, you know.
Okay, try the last one.
Okay,
Why
up
there's no
3,
parentheses?
right 2.
Mm.
Wait.
Yikes!
Wait a
I
second.
got this. Let me try.
It doesn't.
It goes up 3.
Goes up 3.
Oh.
Oh, and
on
it's
that.
pictures start.
Doesn't go right or left any. Does it face up or down?
Down.
Down, and I need to go down how many?
2. And that's it.
That's it.
And that's because there's no parentheses?
Yes.
Parentheses.
So why the 2 points at Is it because you went down 2?
Mm-hmm.
So the H
That was my
value
finger.
has to be.
Ow.
I'll make it in seconds.
Alright, where's the homework?
Okay.
Throw it at me. I'm
So-
literally just gonna bring my math binder every single
What if it's not in vertex form? This looks different, right?
Oh my god.
We're going to combine our knowledge of completing the square to put it into vertex form because that's all completing the square is doing.
I can actually do completing this.
So let's complete the square. Here we go. I'm going to say x squared minus 2x plus blank equals -2 plus blank. Cut that in half. What's half of -2?
X minus 1.
So x minus 1. And then what do I put in each blank? 1, 1. So x minus 1 squared equals -1. Now, for it to look like vertex form, you move that number back over. Okay? So I would say y equals x minus 1 squared plus 1.
Oh, okay. Can this work for more than just completing the square, or is it just to completing the square?
Just completing the square.
Where do we get the extra +1 from?
Because
I had to move this back over to the other side
that
to all be on the same equation. Okay, now what transformations does it give me?
Right one, up one.
Right one, up one. Facing up, slope up, or not slope, but it just goes up 1 and then right or left 1. Just like this.
That's it.
Okay, now number 2.
I'll go.
No, it's not bad. So number 2, you want to divide everything by 2.
At least it's all even.
But here's what I'm going to show that you do, okay? I want you to, so I'm going to say there's a 2 in front. Typically we would divide everything by 2 and that 2 would go away. I want us to rewrite it like we are just pulling that 2 out, okay? So I want you to write it like this.
Makes sense.
So 2. X squared minus 6x plus 8.
It's like factoring.
So it's like I'm taking it out, okay?
Okay. Oh, because
So then I have 2 x squared minus 6x plus blank equals -8 plus blank. So I just moved that -8 over.
Okay. Then we cut the 3 in half, right?
So then from here, wait, hold on. I'm gonna go back and fix something. You need to move the 16 over first before you take the 2 out. Sorry.
Wait, why would you do that?
What?
Why did we do this here?
Because you want to keep the -16 the way it is. So I'm just pulling the 2 out, -16 plus blank. Because the 2 comes back in. So instead of dividing, we're going to just pull it out in front.
On the quiz, don't you want us like when we retake our quiz, don't you always want us to
So typically we've just been dividing it away.
Uh-huh.
Here we're just pulling it out.
Okay,
But we're going to move the number over first.
So we don't bring it out from both sides? So
No.
on the retake quiz, you tell us step 0 is to isolate x squared.
Right, but this is when it's graphing.
Okay, but on the retake,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
want me to, okay, because I...
Okay, everybody, hold on. Listen. Stop. Calm down. It's okay. Step 1. Step 1, move the 16 over. Step 1, move the 16 over. So I'm even just going to erase this. Step 1, move the 16 over. So we've got 2x squared minus 12x equals -16.
Oh, gosh.
Step 2, pull the 2 out. So instead of dividing by 2, we're pulling it out. If we were just completing the square to solve, we would want to divide everything by 2. That is a true statement. And that is what I told you guys to do when we're solving. When we're graphing, you just want to pull it from the left side. And the reason why, I will show you in a minute, okay? So I've got x squared minus 6x plus blank equals negative 16 plus blank.
Yep.
Now, what's half of negative 6?
Negative
Negative 3
multiply
squared
9.
9. Now, you do not put 9 in this blank. You put 2 times 9, which is 18.
What?
Oh, wait, well, wouldn't you put 9 in that one and then 18 in the other?
Yes, so you put 9 in the first one and then 18 in the second one.
Oh my gosh, I feel so smart.
So you have 2 x minus 3 squared equals, what does the right side become?
2.
When you move that over, you have 2 x minus 3 squared minus 2. What transformations do I have?
Wait, what? How did it just become negative on the other side?
I just moved it over. Equals y, or y equals that.
Oh, minus.
To the right 3.
Yeah, why is there a minus 2?
I moved it from the right side of the equal sign to the left side. You want it all on the same side.
Oh.
So my transformations, it goes right 3, down 2, faces up 2 over 1 on each side.
Oh, great. 4.5 is getting into rockets.
Skyrockets.
Oh gosh.
Okay, so let's try this again.
Oh.
We're going to get a little bit more practice, okay?
Excellent. We did rocket science.
Alright guys, this is going to be student led. I'll be taking leadership in this one.
Can we get 300?
Now, I'm going to show you a different way, and it's doing the same thing, but this might make more sense to you. So if you liked the other way, then I want you to keep it. I'm going to show you a different way where everything stays on one side. Okay? And you might like this way better. So you can decide, just like I showed you the 2 different factoring things.
Are we going to
Same
work
thing.
this one out both ways?
So I'm going to say y equals negative 4. I'm going to pull the negative 4 out of just these first 2 terms. So negative 4 x squared. Yes, you can. X squared plus 4 x plus blank minus 12 plus blank. I'm just keeping it all on one side.
So you don't do any equals?
And it's y equals. So I didn't move it over. I kept it there. Sometimes people prefer this. So half of 4 is 2. So x plus 2. I square it, it becomes 4. But this blank is not 4. It would be,
16.
and it would be positive or negative 16. Good.
Oh my.
Oh my gosh.
So is it 4 x plus 2?
So the only thing that is different is if I were to move this to the other side, it would be a positive 12 and a negative 16, which would combine to be a what? A negative 4.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to move it over and then move it back, imagine taking the opposite sign and then combining.
No.
I think I have the answer. I think
That might be
I
too
think I have
much.
the answer.
We're just not gonna
So do
roll
you take
that.
the opposite sign on the one, the first number, the 12, or whatever the number you use, not
Wait,
the
so-
16? So you don't.
If you take the 12 over to get negative 4, so then you have to end up adding 4.
Yes,
Okay,
it's
I'm
going to
not
be
nope.
plus 4.
Don't
If we want to do it the old way, let's go back to it.
Old way.
Okay, that's fine, that's fine. just trying to show you options.
No, we're thankful. We're grateful.
So if we want to do it the other way, I'm going to move the 12 over. So I've got negative 4x squared minus 16x equals positive 12. Pull the negative 4 out. X squared plus 4x plus blank equals 12 plus blank. Are we okay with that? Then what goes in the first blank? 4, and then what goes in the second blank? Good. So I have negative 4 x plus 2 squared equals negative 4. Then when I move it back over to the other side, negative 4 x plus 2 squared plus 4. I like this way better. I like moving it over and moving it back. Because then I can at least check that I kept my signs right. So then what are my transformations for this? Left 2, up 4. Down 4 over 1. Good.
That's one skinny dude.
Okay, I want you to try this last one by yourself. That's okay, you're just pulling it out, remember? You're not dividing. You're not dividing by a fraction, you're just pulling it out. And you can pull out 1/2 of 2, that's just 1.
I mean, I guess.
What does the plus 2 in the parentheses mean?
So that means it goes left 2, down 4, and then you go up 1/2 over 1.